Hello, dear friends. I am Dr. D.D. Sawant from J.A.T Art Science and Commerce College for Women, Malegaon Dist-Nashik, which is from Department of Geography. Now, today we will listen the video that is on a solid waste. So, the definition of this solid waste is solid waste generated by manufacturing or industrial processes. If we'll see the sources to reduce, it refers to reducing the amount of waste generated that must eventually be discarded, including minimizing volume of products and extending the useful life products. So, as a solid waste substances are those materials which become useless and hence waste after short period of time, their use such as newspapers, different types of cans, bottles, broken glass wares, plastic containers, polythene bags, ashes, domestic garbages. So these are discarded solid substances after their uses are variously called as refuse, garbage, rubbish, it is also called as a solid waste, etc. These solid waste require proper and ample space for their dumping and disposal. Hence, the environmental pollution caused by this solid waste is rapidly increasing in tune with the rapid rate of industrial growth and urbanization. The problem of disposal of ever increasing quantities of solid substances has become a headache for not only industrialized and developed countries but also for most of the developing countries. As if we'll see that, for example, the cities which are as a New York in USA alone produces 2,500 truck load of waste solid substances such as beer and coke cans, milk bottles, other types of bottles, papers, plastic goods, containers, polythene bags, domestic garbages, etc. As to measuring about 25,000 tons every day. There are numerous graveyards of abandoned automobiles in the developed countries. So the sources of solid waste substances are may be grouped into categories. For example, first category, that is a production centers, and number two, that is a consumption centers. So production centers may be further divided into small scale production centers and large scale or industrial production centers. So consumption centers contributing solid waste substances may be further divided into individual house community centers, markets and municipal garbage centers. Alternatively, sources of solid waste substances may be grouped into two broad categories. Those are, number one is a, for example, household, it is also called as a domestic sector. A second one, that is a industrial commercial sector, and hence the most of the solid waste substances are not degradable, such as plastics. It may be pointed out that there is direct positive relationship between the amount of solid waste produced and the affluence, richness of the economically rich and industrially developed Western countries. as their throwaway culture has been responsible for the acute problem of solid waste pollution because all of the substances are thrown away after use. None of the used items is reused or recycled. So, on the other hand, economically poor societies of the developing countries produces much smaller quantities of solid waste substances than the economically rich societies of the Western developed world because they use these items several times. And hence, for example, packagings are such that they are used in many times, and hence the bottle used for soft drinks, and milk are used again and again. So, broken bottles and cans are remelted, and thus new bottles and other glass items are made again and again. Not only this, used bottles of milk and soft drinks are used for refilling till they are damaged, but many waste substances are again used in a number of ways. For example, newspapers are sold back by the subscribers to junk collectors, and hence these used newspapers are then put into various uses such as for packaging bags, manufacturing of hardboard, etc. As the solid waste, if we'll see that solid waste pollutants are divided into several types based on their sources such as mining waste, number 2 agricultural waste, number 3 industrial waste, number 4th one municipal waste, number 5th packaging waste, number 6th human waste, number 7th animal waste, and number 8th one is a radioactive waste, etc. So here, as this include gases such as air pollution is there, liquid sewages and solid refuse. So like this, these are the wastes of the solid, which is as a disposal act. In 1965, the act was signed by the Congress in recognition of the seriousness of the threat of solid waste to the environment and human health. As a solid waste, those are storage can be done, collection and disposal should be done. As a to lecture of this outline, if you will see that what act are given, what should be done. So solid waste acts are there. So definitions, solid waste disposal act is there. Sources, types and quantities should be done. So environmental health problems related to solid waste can be controlled. And hence methods of treatment, those are a landfills, incineration, open dumping, a land or sea, compositing, grinding and adding to sewage, recycling, integrated waste management. As all we are knowing that mining wastes are produced during mining operations where huge quantities of waste are dumped on land surface which may be otherwise useful for other purposes. For example, for the mining of metallic ores, huge quantities of earthen material, rocks and other wastes are created. As industrial waste, if you will see that it includes huge amount of abundant items which create several environmental problems. For example, huge quantities of baggage are produced in sugar mills during the process of sugar production. These bagages are heaped in the vicinity of the sugar mills. Thus, the sugar mill overburden of gases from after rotting stinks and spread unbearable foul smell. Next, to which is related to the agricultural waste, that it includes roots and stems of crops, straw, hay, dung, food articles, etc. There is almost no problem of agricultural waste substances in developing countries because these items are used and reused in a number of ways. For example, dungs are used for compost and manures, for domestic fuels, etc. Straws are used as animal feed. Paddy plants, after harvesting and separation of grains, are either used as fodder or are burnt in the farms for manures. But the problem of disposal of these agricultural waste has become headache in the developed countries. As for example, the USA produces about 18 million tons of agricultural waste every year. So, as a municipal waste includes solid waste such as paper, plastic, metals, cans, glass bottles, aluminum foils, metal junks, garbages, mostly coming from domestic uses, etc. It may be further pointed out that most of these items are reused and recycled in poor countries, and therefore the problems of solid waste pollution is not so acute, at least at present, as it is in the developed countries. For example, newspaper after use are reused in a number of ways, but these are thrown out in the developed countries, and it may be pointed out that one day issue of New York Times newspapers require huge quantities of newsprints which come from 75,000 trees. So the disposal of waste newspapers poses an acute problem in the developed countries. For example, municipal waste in the USA amount to 175 million tons per annum, where in daily output of municipal waste in up to the tunes of 480,000 tons. Hence, such type of waste substances which are being produced in a per day, and hence London produces near about 8,000 tons of garbage in a day. So such problems which are being arising due to this such wastes uh, to increase the pollution. So to avoid this, so precaution should be taken. Thank you very much.